everyone. Dave Barlow here with the gang from Sell for 1%, and we have an exciting House of the Week with Jay Marinsky. Jay Marinsky, what do you got?
Well, it stirred up a lot of controversy here this morning. The Benson Ford ship home in Put-in Bay here in our local state of Ohio. So
within a 300-mile radius, everything's fair game.
I mean, it is pretty cool.
The pictures displayed here. Am I facing the right way?
The other way.
The pictures displayed here.
There you go.
It's a very cool house. The Benson Ford Ship House was a cargo ship built in 1924 by the Ford Motor Company. And it was originally utilized as a transport ship for iron ore and other related materials across the Great Lakes by the growing auto company. It was built by Great Lakes Engineering and launched its first maiden voyage in April 26, 1924.
That's cool.
It had a sister ship, the Henry Ford II, which was commissioned to the American Shipbuilder Company in Lorain, Ohio. And that one was actually scheduled to be completed a little bit before this one until it was struck by a tornado.
Whoa.
Oh.
Yeah, so that was delayed a little bit. Consequently, the Benson Ford ship sailed first. Both freighters were named after Henry Ford's grandsons, and the Henry Ford II was officially launched by the youngsters through an electrical remote control in Detroit, Michigan, which at the time was a major technological advancement. So, pretty cool view there. Yeah, think about that today, and it's like, oh, that's not a big deal, but it was big news, nationwide news at the time. The maiden voyage of the Benson Ford began on August 2nd with a coal load from Toledo, Ohio to Duluth, Minnesota, and returned to the Ford Road plant in Dearborn, Michigan. After 50 years of tireless service, the Benson Ford was decommissioned on December of 1981. It had actually ran ashore a few times, which kind of was showing it was getting on in years, and they decommissioned it. And then they released the name the Ford ship so that Ford could put it on another fleet, and rename this ship to the John Dykstra II. They stripped it of its engine, other salvageable parts, and was sold to Frank J. Sullivan of the Sullivan Marine in Cleveland, Ohio. It was intended to be used as a barge, but it never sailed again. Sullivan had the ship towed to the Ontario Stone No. 4 dock in Cuyahoga River, where it sat for almost 2 years, and then was purchased by new owners. After much consideration, Sullivan decided it would not be cost-effective to utilize the ship on the Great Lakes and opted for a less conventional use. And on July 3rd, 1986, the entire forward superstructure of the ship, including the forecastle deck, was removed and transported by the barge Thor 101 to South Bass Island, also called Put-in Bay. It would be used for a 7,000 square foot, 4-story summer home for the Sullivans.
That's cool.
Jeez.
It arrived on Put-in Bay in July 18th, 1986. In 1992, Sullivan petitioned Put-in Bay Township for a zoning for conditional use to allow it to be operational as a bed and breakfast. After a lengthy legal battle, it was determined it could not be utilized for this purpose. So Sullivan began looking for a buyer. In 1999, the Dunn Auction and Realty Company in Navarre, Ohio, held an open outcry real estate auction, which generated more than 128 inquiries and 58 inspections. When the bidding concluded, Jerry and Brian Casper of Casper Auto Group in Sandusky, Ohio, were the new owners. And so the father-son duo quickly renamed the ship to the Benson Ford and have utilized the unique structure for personal use and as a vacation home ever since. Recent renovations to the first floor The structure included a garage, a massive family room, 5 bedrooms, 5 full baths, a dining room, living room, reading room, galley, and of course, the pilot house, which offers a spectacular view of Lake Erie. So now the ship sits at its final resting place on Lake Erie as a beautiful houseboat getaway, and remains one of the most memorable, unique homes and awe-inspiring sights on Lake Erie, which it is. I mean, that's why I picked it, going through some different homes, and it's like, what is this giant ship on the edge of a cliff?
I was going to say, it's pretty unique.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. So a tie to the Barlows is that Henry Ford, who utilized this ship, and basically he would send coal up to Minnesota, but would bring iron ore back from Minnesota to build his cars. And that iron ore went to near Jackson, Ohio, where your granddad's from, via the DT&I Railroad, which Henry Ford built, the Detroit, Toledo, Ironton Railroad. And so basically the iron ore that came in from Minnesota was put on the train, went to Ironton, Jackson, Ohio, where they had blast furnaces and would turn that iron ore into pig iron. The pig iron was then shipped via the DT&I Railroad up to Detroit, where Henry turned the pig iron into cars. And then once they were done with that, they would then ship back to Toledo, pick up the iron ore, and it was a never-ending process. So your great-grandmother, my grandmother, worked for JISCO, Jackson Iron and Steel Company, which was the blast furnace that would make the pig iron. And somewhere we have a little ingot of pig iron formed as a little pig with JISCO as the insignia. So kind of a cool tie-in. Maybe something you'll tell your grandkids someday, that Henry Ford and Grandpa and my grandma, your great-grandmother, were tied into this Benson Ford house on Put-in-Bay.
That's pretty cool.
Henry Ford profited from the labor of my great-grandparents. And the rich get richer.
There you go. Yeah. It's pretty cool that, you know, that he built the railroad to be able to get to those blast furnaces. And I know you guys were too young. We went down there. Jason caught his very first fish at the lake down there. I want to say Victoria, but it's not right. Anyway, there were a couple big
I remember going up to Jackson, or down to Jackson,
a couple big lakes there to serve the blast furnaces. And also at one time Jackson was a lot like Wheeling. Big money in Jackson because of these blast furnaces. So anyways,
nowadays it's a lot like Wheeling too.
Yeah.
I remember when we went down there, there was a guy with, it looked like pet turkeys crossing the road as he was working on an electrical pole that was outside of his house.
Yeah.
None of it seemed very sanctioned.
OSHA has entered the chat.
There you go. Very cool. All right. Anything else about I'd like to go see that ship.
I've actually never been to Put-in-Bay, so I know a lot of people have, but I haven't been up there before. When I'm going up north, I'm going to Cedar Point.
Yeah. Yeah, you just have to come back around the cove.
Yeah.
Take the Put-in-Bay Express to get over. So, all right, Jay Marinsky. Well, thank you.
My pleasure.